Okay, so all right, I'm just going to review because this is a 2-week talk on mission member responsibilities. I'll kind of recap a little bit what we talked about last week and then press into the last two. So the prayer book lays out 5 verbs that you guys are so far away. So far away. 5 verbs that describe what the church expects of all of her members. Do you guys remember some of those verbs? Serve. I heard serve. Serve Christ. What?
Give.
No. Give. Work. Pray. And I think it's attend. So it's serve Christ, attend church every Sunday in the church, and work, pray, give to the for the spread of the kingdom. For the spread of the kingdom. So that's what it says in the prayer book. And I think that it's probably best if we know those first and foremost. But I'm trying to make it easy and applicable. So another way to understand those 5 verbs, that kind of total faith that we talked about last Sunday, is give, grow, go. And there's subheadings that are all alliterated with those as well. But what were the 3 things that we give as members of Christ's church? Time, treasure, talent. The alliteration's working. Sweet. Good. That's all I'll say on those. I did record last week's launch team meeting, and I have it on a link in the launch team email. So if you missed it or want to listen to it again, then it's there. I don't know why you'd want to listen to it again, but if you do, it's there. But if you didn't listen to it, this is the first week where you can develop the habit that we're asking you to commit to, which is to participate in catechesis on a weekly basis, which I'll talk about more in a minute. So if you missed it, go back and watch that little 20-minute video, and that way you can stay up to speed on what we're learning as a parish. All right, so today we are talking about the last 2 headings of mission member responsibilities, which are grow and go. So we've already talked about give. Now we're doing grow and go. I'm gonna have to yell this whole time. You know what I'm gonna do? Josh, can you make sure this is pointing in my direction? And I'm gonna stand right here. So if you guys, I'm gonna be right around you guys. All right. So, grow means the Benedictines, when they would come to the monastery, they would have to take 3 vows. One of them was stability. I'm not asking you guys to make these vows. These are monastic vows. These are not laity vows. But I think it's helpful for us to know one of them in particular, because it helps set the context for what I'm going to be talking about. One of them was stability. That means that they were going to stay at a monastery for the rest of their life. And if you go to a monastery, they almost always have a graveyard of all of the monks who have stayed there their whole lives. That's the vow of stability, stay. The other one, though, that I want to talk about was, one of them was obedience. They obey their abbot. You guys have a different relationship to me as members of a mission than a monk does to an abbot, right? You guys don't have to take a vow of obedience to me. I'm a shepherd, I'm a pastor. That's different than an abbot who requires obedience from his monks, right? But there's one that I think that's particularly applicable to a parish, and that is that they also would take a vow of conversion. Say conversion. They would take a vow of conversion. That one's kind of a weird one. But it was a vow that they were always going to devote themselves to becoming more like Christ at that monastery. So you could imagine that someone could stay and obey and yet not grow spiritually. Because they were like, just given kind of, all right, I'll do it, Abbot, whatever. And I'm not leaving. That vow of conversion was essential. It means that they were always going to press into the life of being a Christian, of growing. I want that here. And I want that to be an understanding that when you join the mission at Christ the King, you're not to stay stagnant. That we're here to grow together. So here's a couple ways that I want us to understand how we're going to grow. Just very basic. Growing means you attend liturgy on Sunday. We talked about that last week, but I think it's helpful to bring up again under the heading of growing. You guys will grow as you're consistent in making worship a priority. Cell group. I want us to commit to cell group. I think that cell group is going to be a place where we just continue to grow together. Most people, by the way, they're not vulnerable enough in their spiritual lives. We like to live siloed existences. And so one of the areas that we really need to grow, most people need to grow, is in that type of, my gosh. We got planes, trains, and automobiles fighting. All right. Cell group is a way that we're all going to grow. It's important. Catechesis is where we grow mentally. Catechesis is a broader topic. Catechesis is really, everything is catechesis at the end of the day, because everything is training. That's not the only way you can understand something, but what we put out for those videos I was talking about, those are really going to grow our understanding of the faith. And you guys, I want you guys to commit as mission members to just growing in that as well. But there's three things besides those kind of attendance commitments that I think will be helpful for us to name and converse about. The first is, the three are, for how we grow: discipleship, devotion, and duplication. The 3 Ds. What are they again? Discipleship, devotion, duplication. Anyone think of another D? I'm just joking. All right, discipleship. Part of your discipleship will happen in cell group. You'll know people a little closer, and if you're missing the mark of what Christ desires of you, cell group is a place where someone can say, hey, I'm going to tell you what I think you need to hear, and I'm going to help you get to where I think you need to go. And that both of those are really important for discipleship. For you to say, hey, you're missing the mark, that's not going to cut it for discipleship. But saying, hey, how you doing? And leaving it at that and asking them, that's not going to cut it either. It takes both. This is where we need to go. This is where the next step in you growing as a Christian. And I'm going to walk with you to get there. And I think that cell groups are going to be a place where that can happen. But that should really happen anywhere. If you see someone who's just struggling, step alongside them and say, hey, you and we're getting there together. So the Celts called this an amon charis, a soul friend. A soul friend. there's friendship, and most friendships are pretty stagnant. Then there's soul friend or spiritual friendships. Spiritual friendships have this great koinonia this way, but they also add that teleology, that end point, which is Christ, and they pursue that together. Discipleship is that walking towards that together. I want us to just commit to that. So part of that is that you always need to find a mentor, and you always need to find someone to mentor. We're going to try to think of systems that will facilitate this, but you can't really create this with a system. It'll help, but what's really going to be best is that if everyone is just actively looking for a mentor and someone to mentor. And as they do that, to pick the point, which is Christ, to walk alongside someone towards it. If everyone has this as an understanding of what it means to be a Christian, of what it means to be a mission member, then now we have a culture. And we might not even need a system. If it happens organically, a system is over the top of that. So I promise we'll think of ways, clear ways to have this happen, but I want to just press upon you that how important it is for us just to be looking for discipleship opportunities for ourselves and in others. But I can't talk about discipleship without talking about the relationship that I have with each of you. I don't know where you all have come from in all of your church experiences, but one of the reasons why it's important to our church that we have a very low clergy to laity ratio. Right now, we have a very low ratio. There's a lot of clergy per mission member. We are always going to keep that ratio. If we ever get too big, we're going to hire someone else in. We're going to find someone else who has giftings in pastoral care. Because I never want you to be separate in your discipleship from someone who's been trained and commissioned by the church to be a pastor. Now, one of the things so our end is to make sure that there's enough pastors per person. What your end of the bargain is you guys need to initiate and be open with your clergy. So there's a couple of you guys, for instance, that say, Father Tony, I need you every week. I need you every week to check on me on this. And I do it. There's a couple of you guys that say, I need a text every day. And I do it. There's some of you guys that say, I need a confession every year on Ash Wednesday. I'll drive to you. You drive to me. We'll make it happen. But where is the burden? Who initiates in this? You do. Because I'm sure you can appreciate, not only are there a lot of people, but it's also awkward for me to chase you down and say, you need this. The onus is on you to initiate a pastoral relationship and to tell me your business. I will never, ever share it with anybody. I won't. If there's something you need to say, there's one person that absolutely should know your business. It's your priest. We're not meant to keep things to ourselves. So I'll tell you how this works in my life. There is one person, and only one, who knows every single thing that I've ever done. Things that I don't share with anyone else, things in my past, I deal with it with one person. Well, two, Christ. But there's one person on this earth that I talk to about it, and that's my spiritual director. That's Father John Bonesier. He was my rector in Dallas. Who initiated this? I did. He didn't chase me down. You getting the theme? Now, it doesn't have to be me. This is a time where I'm going to introduce our clergy and really give them to you in a very forward way, okay? Father Josh, he's Chick-fil-A, one of the best companies in the country, looks to Father Josh to develop their highest level people in a leadership context. So that's a specific skill set that he has, but he's also just a great pastor of souls. And I highly recommend that you utilize this gift to our church and initiate pastoral care with him. Deacon Bill has a degree in counseling. Am I have that right? He has a degree. We have a degreed, licensed counselor who is also a very deep spiritual leader and one who is very intentional about his walk with Christ. So I highly recommend that you as a mission utilize this resource. And this is Deacon Kyle. Deacon Kyle, can you stand up? Deacon Kyle just joined the mission. And this morning he sent in his paperwork to be transferred into the REC. So very soon, he'll be on the clergy team. Everyone give him a round of applause. I've already had a conversation with our canon for the diocese. Everything seems good to go, so I'm confident to present to you guys in this conversation him as a resource. Kyle's a great friend. I know him. I've known him for a long time. I would trust him with any information that I had personally. He's extremely gifted and skilled and trained in theology, in catechesis. He thinks deeply about how to train children. He thinks deeply about how to train the soul. So he's kind of our expert in catechesis, and I'm going to utilize him in that fashion. But all three of these men, I just encourage you to seek them out, because we have a commitment as a mission to grow, and the first aspect of growth is discipleship. Any questions on that before we move forward? Good. Well, not good. I hope you guys ask questions. All right, the second is devotion. Devotion has to do with praying and fasting with the church. Now, does Paul say to pray, Josiah, does Paul say to pray sometimes, a lot, or always? Always. The end goal is that we pray always. There are ways to do that. But it's not going to happen tomorrow. It takes practice. Eventually, prayer becomes like breathing. I'm nowhere near this. But we are all committed as a church to growing into what at least St. Paul says a Christian ought to be. Devotion has to do with those prayers. Fasting means when the church is fasting, you fast. We fast together. So during Lent, we'll lay out things that the church does together, right? I'm always going to keep the bar real low because the church does that. They're talking like, you avoid these things. They're really easy. But it leaves, and the reason is because they're wanting to give freedom for each person to go above and beyond that, right? We're not going to say, you give up this list for like that borders on legalism, right? But there are obligations that God does. They're always pretty low because he wants to invite us to go over and above those. But when we're fasting as a church, part of our devotion to Christ and our commitment to growth is fasting together. During Trinity Tide, the typical fast is Fridays. It's a light fast. I have not taught a whole lot about that because there's other things that we need to learn. During Advent, there'll be some fasting that we do as a group and some prayer that we do as a group. Maybe not together, but at your homes. Just fasting and prayer for the launch month. That's no, I need to get that out to you guys. As we prepare, we're going to set aside a few days as a church just to pray for those that God brings to us during launch month. I'll make that clear. The last part of growing is duplication. Every member of a mission is called to evangelize. Now, some of you guys have the gift of evangelism, but everyone is called to evangelize. Now, I sent out a text. What's the number one way that we evangelize others? Invitation. We invite. That's the number one way that the church has grown through the centuries. It is simply invitation. And we call that the way of St. Andrew. St. Andrew, how did he convert or evangelize one of the other apostles, which ended up evangelizing all of Southern Asia? He said, "Hey, come and see." That's it. Billions of people in the history of the world, because someone said, "Hey, come and see the Messiah. I found him." It's not hard. But everyone needs to understand that as a mission member, this is a responsibility that we have to be like St. Andrew, who said, "Come and..." Awesome. Another aspect of duplication is that we are always going to be apprenticing ourselves. So if you guys have a role at the church, I've communicated that I don't want you in that role very long. I don't want you in the role very long. I want you to grab an apprentice and say, "Hey, I want you to be in this role in 6 months." If we do that over the next 5 years, we're going to have a team of people who is extremely capable of planting another church, of doing mission that way. Very versatile. If someone's sick, we can step in. But that's another area of growth that I want us to be committed to at this particular parish. I want us to always be duplicating. So I forget who did. I think did you train Sam for the audio, or did he train you? So Mark Massey trained Sam Kellum, and then Sam Kellum trained Drew. That's how that works. Any questions on growing? What were the 3 Ds? Awesome. All right, the last one is to go. To go. We've already talked about invitation. That's one of the main ways that we go as a launch team. So I won't spend any more time about that. So it's invitation, initiation, imagination. Say them together. Invitation, initiation, and imagination. I spent a lot of time on these. So much time. Initiation, I need you guys to, and you guys are amazing at this, so I'm already saying what you guys already do. You step up and step in. Step up means if there's a need, you guys step up. And I can tell you, my job is so easy because you guys are really good at stepping up. So stepping up has to do with like roles. Oh, coffee's not going well. Boom, Katie stepped up. I didn't even have to ask. The Altar Guild, we were having trouble with people. Marie sent me an email and said, "I've already done everything else that you need. Let me know if I've missed anything." I'm like, "Oh, we have an Altar Guild team leader." Praise God. I love that. I will not be intimidated by any of you who are wanting to step up. Frankly, we have more needs than we have people, always. So this is going to be something that's really important. And be ready to take the lead on stuff. So I do not believe that everyone needs to be a leader, but I also think that there's a willingness to take responsibility that is proper to every Christian. So that's initiation. Imagination is, I want us to be daring and creative for how to connect the disconnected. So part of our vision statement is to reconnect those who are disconnected from the church. If we're going to do that as a mission, it's going to be because we're creative and daring. The word courageous is in our vision statement. We're going to reconnect courageously. That means if one of you has a skill for, I don't know, knitting, to leverage that to connect women to the church took guts and creativity. So I know that's 2 for Marie. You're killing it, Marie, killing it. But that's the type of thing that I'm talking about. It's creative and it's bold. Now, Marie, were you nervous when you led that thing? Yeah, I bet you were. But if we understand that this is part of our identity and our responsibility, every one of us has things that can connect the disconnected. Over the next several years, I just want to keep encouraging you guys to be creative and bold and to dream big. Our vision statement is to plant a lot of churches. I understand that that's a big dream. And listen, I don't want to plant a lot of churches because I want Christ the King to be amazingly big. I don't even want to name him Christ the King. There'll be other parishes. If this church plants 10 parishes in the next 5 years, then what does that mean for this church? How many people are we going to have? 120? Is that a big parish? That is not a big parish. So we're not trying to do this so that we're big and famous. That has nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, it's going to be those who split off and do amazing work in Cartersville and Ackworth and Smyrna and Canton and Cumming and Woodstock. They're going to be the ones that get the credit. Christ the King will always be the behind-the-scenes parish. That's what Ascending Parish is. That's what you guys are called to. I know it. Because when I look around Northwest Atlanta, I am 100% convinced that what they need are more churches. What they need are more churches. And so I want you guys to just dream big. And that's what our responsibilities are as mission members. Grow, go. I'm going to review one more time because I'm not going to talk about it for a long time. What are the 3 for giving? Time, treasure, talent. What's the next one for the G's? Grow. And what are the 3 ways to grow? Discipleship, devotion, duplication. Good. And go. Invitation, initiation, imagination. Those 3, we probably need another one. Invitation, initiation, imagination. Say alms. All right, any questions before we move on? I know there's questions, so I'll wait. Charles. Charles, yeah.
So this is one of those, I feel stupid asking this question.
Those are the best questions.
When we are doing corporate prayer, we only use the book of
Other liturgies?
need
That's a good question. So he's asking, when we're in corporate worship, do we always use the prayer book, or is there a little bit of flex based upon momentary need? And the answer is, almost always the church gathers for the liturgy, which is out of the prayer book, right? Now, the prayer book has a lot of resources that are there when a need arises. So you might remember when we commissioned our college students. That's not a every week need, right? in August when the college kids go off. There's actually a commission and a prayer in the prayer book for college students who are going to study. So it's momentary. It's not, we don't do that all the time, but there's actually resources in the prayer book for that. Now, as it happened, we couldn't find that prayer right then. So what did we do? We prayed for it extemporaneously for the college students. Is that in the liturgy? No. Were we able to do it? Yes. Is it against the rules? No. So the liturgy is there as a structure. There's freedom within that structure. And certain churches take more freedom with the liturgy. We're going to probably take less freedom with the liturgy, just where we are on the scale. But there is some wiggle or freedom based upon needs. That makes sense? Yeah. If someone came to the church and was in real need, I don't see any problem during the prayers for the people, bringing them up and praying for them as a group. Now, I might not do that very often because the need wouldn't arise very often, but there's nothing in the liturgy that would prevent that. It's just not typical. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Going once. All right, thank you guys for your attention. Let's keep fellowshipping. There's one other thing I needed to tell you. There's only two things that I really need you guys to go to. That is church on Sunday and the cell group. Everything else is optional. And so if you guys are feeling stressed with your schedule and we have like a lake day on Saturday, don't come. Don't come. I want to be a blessing to you. There's only a certain few things that I want from you every time. But all the other things, Theology on Tap, Men's Fellowship, Women's Fellowship, Lake Day, optional. Optional. Got it? All right, thanks.